Furthermore, Section 752 defines the above offenses as a serious personal injury offense, which the provincial appellate courts have consistently excluded from conditional sentence consideration. The number one priority for the federal government is to keep Canadians safe. The Liberal government has been derelict in their responsibility. This soft-on-crime, ideologically driven bill needs to be defeated. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honourable member will have 5 minutes for questions and comments after the oral question period. Statements by members. Déclaration des députés. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Sackville, Preston Chesacook.
There you go. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. This holiday season, I would like to highlight the importance of supporting all those who support us during this time of year. Organization and volunteer groups across the riding of Sackville, Preston, Chesapeake are stepping to help less fortunate people and organizations during holiday season. Organizations like Freedom Kitchen in Lower Sackville, the Lions Christmas Express in Fall River, the Eastern Passage Cow Bay Food Bank, and the community groups right across the Eastern Passage are stepping up to make a difference to help others. I encourage all Nova Scotians and Canadians to find ways to either donate time or money to different organizations in our communities who work tirelessly to help support individuals and communities across my riding and across Canada. Thank you.
The honourable member for Essex.
Madam Speaker, I rise today on a matter of great concern involving workers in my region. Thank you to the workers and uniform reps for alerting me to a brewing EI crisis. This crisis has many faces. It impacts expectant moms who have had to use their regular EI at the expense of their maternity benefits. One mom was eligible for only 1 week of maternity benefits, 1 week of what should have been several months to bond with her baby. I am thinking of, Madam Speaker, of the 450 assembly plant workers on extended layoff due to a global chip shortage. The laid-off workers in the feeder plants, 7 for each one in the assembly plant, and the 854 active on-layoff local 444 casino workers who have exhausted their EI benefits. Madam Speaker, some workers in our region have only worked 9 weeks this year. Facing an anxious Christmas and uncertain future, they need a compassionate and swift response from this government. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Husband's area. The honourable member for Sault Ste. Marie.
Madam Speaker, I stand here today in the first session of the 44th Parliament, and once again humbled and honoured to continue to serve my constituents of Sault Ste. Marie for a third term. With that, thank you. With that, I'm incredibly grateful and thank my family and many volunteers and supporters of my team who work tirelessly in every possible way to get out the vote. A thank you to them for their profound trust bestowed on me. From my family to yours, may beautiful moments and happy memories fill your heart and home with joy this holiday season. We wish you peace, love, and blessings always, and best wishes for the new year. And may Santa Claus bring joy to your heart that will last all year. And I would like to give a special shout out to my mom and dad that have been supporting me now for the past 25 years in local politics. Love you both.
The honourable member for Bécancour, Nicolet Sorel. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to invite all art lovers to visit the exhibition of Sister Jeanne Vanasse, who at the age of 100 is presenting an exhibition entitled Genesis at the Museum of World Cultures in Nicolet. Sister Vanasse studied at the Beaux-Arts de Québec for 4 years in the same class as the celebrated painter Jean-Paul Lemieux. In the 1960s, she began to exhibit her paintings and engravings all across Quebec. In 1967, she gave the Ministry of Education her famous treatise on visual arts. She also worked as a teacher at the Cégep in Trois-Rivières and led study trips to France, Spain, and Italy. As she approaches the end of her journey here on Earth, she decided to tackle even more complex themes like the beginning of the universe, as though beginnings and endings were a single phenomenon. Her works show an incredible sensitivity and serenity. Bravo, Sister Vanasse. We are looking forward to seeing your exhibit and to celebrating your 100 years of artistry.
The honourable member for Nickel Belt.
Mr. Speaker,
I'd like to congratulate the community of Noëlleville from French River region. This year, Noëlleville was chosen as part of Canada Post's limited edition holiday stamp set. This gesture honors the special town and Noël Desmarais, who was the first merchant in the community. Merci. Merci.
Thank you to Canada Post for the festive cheer. And a big thank you to the employees of Canada Post for the long hours that they've been putting in to ensure that everyone can get their packages on time. We greatly appreciate all of these frontline workers. I want to thank all of the volunteers who have supported the most vulnerable, our seniors, and the food banks of Nickel Belt. I wish everyone a wonderful Christmas and a safe and happy holiday season. That's how we celebrate here. Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Mr. Speaker, polio is a horrible disease. It affects one's central nervous system, creating paralysis and even death. While Canada is now 20 years polio-free, it still remains endemic in the countries of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Fortunately, there are organizations like Rotary International who have raised over $1 billion in their mission to eradicate polio. I would like to highlight the efforts of one particular Rotarian from my riding, Dr. Robert Scott, who's dedicated over 40 years of his life to the eradication of polio. For 10 years, he was the chairman of the International Committee on Polio Plus, a committee dedicated to the eradication of polio. He traveled the world rallying global leaders behind their cause of eradicating polio. So thank you to Rotary International, thank you to all Rotarians, and thank you to Dr. Bob.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg North.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. This government understands the need to support people. We do that through the pandemic, where we saw programs that supported real people through programs such as CERB, 9 million plus Canadians, through small business supports, whether it's wage subsidy, loan supports, rent subsidies, Mr. Speaker. But today I rise to emphasize the importance of 3 programs that are so dear to my constituents and provide the type of support that is so essential. Talking about the child care program, millions of dollars along with the guaranteed income supplement, taking people out of poverty, providing millions of dollars of support into Winnipeg North every month, Mr. Speaker. And now we have the child care program, a true national care program that's going to help families, Mr. Speaker. As a government, we understand the importance of supporting real people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to be in the House today to recognise the legacy of a long-time community builder in my riding of Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, Beverly Wood. In 2006, Beverly founded Welcoming Arms, a program that provides warm meals and essential goods to low-income families. They also spearheaded the creation of a community garden, financial literacy program, and holiday dinners. Beverly was an angel to all those in our community who felt they could turn to her in challenging times. She responded to everyone's concerns with a listening heart. During the pandemic, Beverly responded to a request from the Mayor of Aurora and created a task force to identify the needs of the most vulnerable. Beverly passed away earlier this year, but the impact of her tireless service to the riding will carry on for years to come. Welcoming Arms continues their work with families in need, and during this holiday season, the continuing work is so appreciated, as need is experienced more acutely during these times. May we all respond to those in need this holiday season with welcoming arms and a listening heart. Joyeux fête et happy holidays to all.
The Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to thank the constituents of the riding of Prince Albert for giving me the honour of serving as their member in Canada's 44th Parliament. As we all know, no one gets elected by themselves. It takes a team, and I had a great team. My success is a result of their hard work. Thank you to my EDA President and Campaign Manager, Ralph Boychuk, for his tireless work and solid advice. You are a true friend. To all the volunteers, too many to name, and EDA board members who took on a variety of roles across our riding, your help was tremendous. To my staff who provided such high level of service throughout the years, thank you. And of course to my wife Jerry and family. Your sacrifice the most. I couldn't do this job without your love and support. Christmas is now just days away. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe festive season. Merry Christmas, good health to all, and a prosperous new year, and a Conservative government in 2022.
The Honourable Member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Mr. Speaker, on November 24th, a great lady of Acadian literature was honoured at the Élysée Palace in Paris, the novelist and playwright Antonine Maillet. President Macron awarded her the insignia of the Commandeur de la Légion d'honneur, which was the highest distinction given to a person from outside of France. In Acadia, Maillet is well known as the first non-European to win the Goncourt Literary Prize in 1979. Her works, like La Sagouine or Pélagie la Charrette, were among the first to tell the story of Acadia, its history, its challenges, and its resilient spirit. Over the years, Ms. Maillet's characters have continued to inspire us and make us laugh and cry. Ms. Maillet, on behalf of the entire Acadian diaspora and myself, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your writing and your passion for Acadia continue to inspire us and to encourage future generations to continue speaking what we will call the language of Antonine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
It's my pleasure to rise today to thank the people of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes for their continued trust and confidence in returning me to Parliament with a clear mandate. The people have been very busy over the last 3 years with 3 federal elections. They continue to demand strong representation in Ottawa with a focus on securing funding for infrastructure, lowering taxes, and making life more affordable. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the hard work of my many volunteers, too many to name, but special shout-outs to Joan Leahy, Barb O'Reilly, and Heidi Piper Ward for their tireless work on my campaign. And thank you, of course, to my wife Amanda, to our children, Luke, Emma, James, Nathan, Michaela, their enthusiastic door knocking, and the best sign putter-uppers in the last election. So to the people of Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes, I'll continue to advocate for you, your family, and for our community. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, he was the first politician that ever got my attention, and not because we almost share a name, although the confusion has always been beneficial for me. Former Toronto mayor and businessman Mel Lastman will always be remembered as a larger-than-life politician whose love for his family and his community and his city was infectious. With little in the way of education, he started, like so many of his generation, with nothing but a dream. A man who sold sofas, tables, and chairs shifted his focus to the biggest chair in North York for 25 years before amalgamation. His popularity soared as the mega city's mayor for the next 6 years after that. In Toronto, he won't be remembered for lowering taxes or picking up your garbage. He'll forever be known as the guy who is just like us. Mr. Speaker, Mayor Mel passed away this Saturday. He lived his last years in Thornhill, and we extend our condolences to his children and his grandchildren, and I hope they find comfort in the memories of a life well lived. There's one thing we'll never forget, Mr. Speaker. Who's better than Bad Boy? Nobody!
The Honourable Member for Yukon.
Mr. Speaker, around the world, including in my home in the Yukon, this is a time of festivals and celebrations. Yet, despite the brightness and joy this time of year can bring, these are also the darkest days of the year. Not everyone has family, friends, and loved ones with which to share the time, and due to COVID-19, not everyone is able to gather. This time of year can often exacerbate mental distress and illness, and thanks to the pandemic, this is being felt more acutely than ever. I want to recognize in particular the mental stress and exhaustion faced by our frontline healthcare and public health workers. I came to Ottawa to help build a better future for all Yukoners. I want to be a part of improving supports for mental health in Canada, supporting our healthcare workforce, and moving forward urgently on the opioid epidemic, where Yukon is tragically leading in per capita deaths. As a new year approaches, I ask my colleagues to join me in committing to working together to build a better Canada for all. May all Canadians find solace, peace, and joy this holiday season, no matter where they are or what life has brought them.
The Honourable Member for Courtenay Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, the international seabed covers 50% of the planet and is considered the common heritage of humankind. The International Seabed Authority is tasked with protecting the seabed in international waters. But as a member, Canada has been missing in action by, until recently, only sending one delegate to International Seabed Authority meetings and missing 6 opportunities in the last 6 years to comment on the work of the International Seabed Authority. The International Seabed is the last untouched region of the world, supporting much of the Earth's biodiversity and critical fishery resources. It is now at risk of being mined as early as 2024, as mining regulations are being rushed through at the International Seabed Authority. Mr. Speaker, Canada must step up and show leadership in ocean protection, and the many countries, including the EU Parliament and hundreds of international NGOs, and calling for a moratorium on seabed mining to allow the advancement of critical scientific research so we can better understand deep ecosystems from the sea. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Nejet-Témiscouata-les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, it was the end of an era in Saint-Eugène-de-la-Drière last month, as an icon of regional politics, Gilbert Pigeon, passed the torch after 38 years serving on the Municipal Council. A true model of dedication and community involvement, Mr. Pigeon has had an inspiring career. He was a mayor of his municipality for 34 years, administrator of the Fédération Québécoise des Municipalités for 20 years, president of the Fonds de défense des Municipalités du Québec for 10 years, and Reeve of Rimouski-Nejet for 6 years. For his work, he was awarded the Medal of the Lieutenant Governor of Quebec in July 2020. Mr. Pigeon, I'd like to thank you for the time, energy, and passion that you have invested in your community over the past 4 decades. Your hard work and conviction have helped keep our beautiful region thriving. Good luck in your new endeavors, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the voters of Beauce for re-electing me as a second term and for allowing me to be their voice in the House. I'd also like to thank my family for their indispensable support and my team who worked so hard during my campaign and who continue to do so. I'd also like to highlight an organization in my riding called Lien Partage, which has been active for 45 years. Its mission is to provide volunteer domestic support services to anyone who has experienced a loss of autonomy and to provide health services to those 50 and over. It's easy to forget how lucky we are to be healthy and independent. Loss of autonomy can happen to anyone, and not everyone is so lucky to have loved ones who can take care of them. So to all of the volunteers of the organization, past and present, thank you for your dedication to serving our communities. Thank you for putting others at the center of your life for a few hours every week. You help people feed themselves, and you help them feel more of a sense of belonging. This makes a huge difference, so thank you. The Honourable Member for Hochelaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The holiday season is upon us, and I'd like to take the time to thank the organizations and volunteers in Hochelaga who continue to be there for our community year after year. Today, I especially want to highlight the contribution of a citizen in Hochelaga, Rais Zaidi, better known as the Green Pirate. He's been distributing free food to the underprivileged for many years. I want to congratulate him for his incredible generosity, his dedication, and his local involvement in the community. He fights against food waste and distributes food 3 times a week in the neighborhood, simply laying it out on a table, which is in front of his house on Desiree Street. Thanks to him, many families in the riding and elsewhere will be able to spend the holiday season with a full fridge. Mr. Speaker, I invite everyone to be inspired by the Green Pirate and to have a generous and safe holiday season.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Shortage and soaring prices, American President Joe Biden has begged countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia, places with no commitment to climate action, where women aren't seen as people and gay men face the death penalty, to increase their oil production for the Americans. Yet the U.S. canceled Keystone Pipeline and is challenging Line 5. Can the Minister of International Trade explain why the Americans want Saudi and Iranian oil over lower carbon Canadian energy?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the member opposite well know, the world of energy is changing all around the world. We are seeing record-level investment, Mr. Speaker, in clean technologies and renewable energy. In fact, if you look at where which part of Canada is receiving the most investment in renewable energy, Mr. Speaker, it's not my home province of Quebec, it's not Ontario or British Columbia, it's in Alberta that we are seeing record-level investment in renewable energy, Mr. Speaker. This is what the future will look like. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Well, the minister's right about one thing. Global demand for energy is changing. The Americans want more Saudi oil as opposed to Canadian low-carbon energy. The Americans probably want this type of energy because they know Canada's Liberals will roll over on human rights-abusing oil cartel countries. They could care less about energy prices, and they love offshoring Canadian jobs. So can the Minister of International Trade, as opposed to letting a man stand and answer her question, tell Canadians what she has done, who she has met with to promote Canadian energy to the American government?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I take exception to the way that the Honourable Member has framed this. I am perfectly happy to stand up in this House and respond to questions raised. Mr. Speaker, I will always stand up for Canadian industries. I will always stand up for Canadian workers every single day. That is what we do on this side of the House, and we have been successful.
I don't know what's in the water tonight or today, but I just want to remind everyone the questions are being asked and they're being responded to, and I just want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to hear the question and the answer. The Honourable Member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Well, there's one thing that minister won't stand up for, and that's Canadian energy and Canadian energy worker jobs. Let me translate what she just said. She says, I haven't once promoted Canadian energy to the Americans. And at a time when we need continental energy security, cheap energy bills, and climate actions, the Liberals have offshored our jobs and increased energy prices, and they are happy about it. Will the Minister of International Trade commit clearly to promoting Canadian energy to the Americans, or will she give more word salad and keep offshoring Canadian jobs to climate-destroying countries?
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservative when it comes to promoting the energy sector in Canada, Mr. Speaker. The member on the other side will well know, Mr. Speaker, not only we promoted the energy sector, we landed the first blue hydrogen project in Canada, Mr. Speaker, in Edmonton and Alberta, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we know how to stand up for energy sector, we know how to stand up for workers, and we know how to stand up for Canada, Mr. Speaker.
On va attendre un peu. We'll wait a minute. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, as everyone knows, for 60 years, Canada and the U.S. have enjoyed close cooperation in the auto industry. And everyone knows, with the billions of dollars that private companies are investing, electric vehicles are the future. But President Biden's tax credit means our jobs here in Canada are threatened. And what is the Liberal government doing about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. When is this government going to defend auto workers in Canada? The Honourable Minister.
Oh, excusez-moi. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for the question, despite the earring mishap there. We have made it very clear to the Americans that the protectionist and discriminatory provision for electric vehicle credits are discriminatory to Canada. We've been building automobiles together for 50 years, integrating our supply chains over 50 years, and that Canada will be prepared to stand up for its national interests. We want to work towards a solution. We're working very hard at that, but Canada will stand up for its interests, and this government, you've seen us do it, we'll do it again.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Yes, but Mr. Speaker, if they do exactly what they did with steel, aluminum, and softwood lumber, auto workers may well lose their well-paid jobs because all this government does is talk. There's no action. Why isn't the minister currently contacting her U.S. counterparts to convince them that it's actually a win-win situation if we protect the Canadian industry? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's precisely why I was in Washington, D.C., working with the American government, working with congressional leaders to make the case for Canada. The Deputy Prime Minister and I just released a letter last week to the congressional leadership indicating that we would stand up, we would introduce retaliatory measures should we need to do that. You've seen this government work. When we were faced with Section 232 tariffs, we stood up for Canadian jobs. We will always stand up for Canadian jobs.
I'm going to have to start asking everyone to put an earring on if that's what it takes to keep everybody quiet. It just seemed to work so well. The Honourable Minister, did you want to finish up? You've got about 15 seconds left.
Mr. Speaker, we're not going to take any lessons from the Conservatives. We stood up against tariffs, against Section 232 tariffs against steel and aluminum. We were successful then. We're prepared to stand up for national interests now. We will be successful this time too.
The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister unveiled his strategy for challenging Bill 21. First, in the early stages, stay out of it so the Quebec government can't use the federal interference excuse. For now, the Prime Minister has refrained from interfering federally because he knows it's still under Quebec jurisdiction. We know it, he knows it. Knowing that, will the Prime Minister commit to not interfering in the challenge to legislation that doesn't fall under his jurisdiction? In other words, will he mind his own business? The Honourable Minister of Justice. Mr. Speaker, our position has always been clear. No one should lose their job because of how they dress or what their religious beliefs are. What happened in Chelsea, Mr. Speaker, was that there's a community mobilizing to defend one of its own members, a teacher, and obviously there are some difficult discussions that follow. We are monitoring the situation closely. Quebecers who are currently defending their interests before the courts, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for La Prairie. Mr. Speaker, nothing the Prime Minister says about Bill 21 comes as a surprise to anyone, frankly, and it stays here at least. But for Bob Rae, Canada's ambassador to the United Nations, to bash Quebec's reputation internationally, that's going too far. According to him, Bill 21 violates the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, no less. Quebec will not be insulted by Canada's representative to the UN. Imagine, he's supposed to represent Quebec at the UN, and we're paying him for that. Incredible. Will the Prime Minister recall his ambassador to the UN for him to explain himself? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the position of the Prime Minister and of our government has always been clear. We are going to monitor what happens in the courts. Quebecers, Quebec men and women, are currently fighting the battle to defend their rights in court, and we have said that our position is clear. This was a piece of legislation passed by the National Assembly, and we'll see what the courts do with it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today's fiscal update is an opportunity for this government to respond to the inflation, which is driving up the cost of living and making it harder and harder for Canadians to make ends meet. In particular, vulnerable seniors are feeling the impact of this inflation because of this government's clawback of their GIS. We've heard stories from seniors who are struggling to put food on the table, who are struggling to stay in their homes, many of whom have already lost their homes. We've been fighting this government since August. When will the government commit to fixing the clawback and ending it so that seniors are no longer put in this vulnerable position?
The Honourable Minister for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, when the pandemic began, our government acted very quickly to help millions of Canadians, including seniors, especially those most vulnerable. We've stepped up to support them with payments and historic investments on top of the other boosts that we've delivered for seniors, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to Serve GIS, we know it's been challenging for some seniors this year. And as I said before in this House, Mr. Speaker, we are committed to finding the right solution to support those affected, and we will have more to share with the House soon. And as always, Mr. Speaker, we'll always have their back.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
La mise à jour économique,
The economic update is an opportunity for everyone to address the increasing cost of living. It's harder and harder to find affordable housing. There are tools to deal with this crisis. Will the Prime Minister undertake to respond to this crisis with measures that are appropriate, that fit the scale of the crisis? The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Making life more affordable for Canadians. That's why we've invested in childcare agreements around the country. That's why we support our seniors. It's why we have historic investments, $72 billion in the National Housing Strategy. We will continue to make housing affordable and to ensure that housing affordability is a priority for our government and for all Canadians.
Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal failed relationship with the United States continues to go backwards. Conservatives have been warning about trade challenges for years, yet the Liberals called an election instead of spending time in the U.S. building relationships and standing up for Canada. Now the Trade Minister is warning that Canada should, quote, prepare for the worst. Conservatives had a Canadian Buy American exemption and a softwood lumber agreement. Despite photo ops and feel-good words, the Trade Minister comes back empty-handed every time from the United States. How much worse does the Trade Minister expect it to get?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, we're not going to take any lessons from the Conservatives on this. When we were negotiating the NAFTA agreement, the leader of the opposition said that we should just capitulate and that we should take any agreement. Canada, on this side of the House, will make sure that we get a good agreement, always for Canadian workers and for Canadian businesses. We have done that before. We're going to do it again.
The Honourable Member for Kelowna Lake Country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't be surprised that the Canada-U.S. relationship is not a priority and failing. It wasn't even mentioned once in the throne speech, and this is our biggest trading partner. A small business, manufacturing in my riding, Kelowna Lake Country, exports to the U.S. military and will be affected by the Buy American policies. They are being failed by the Minister of Small Business and by the Minister of International Trade. Oh, that's right, it's the same minister. When will that minister get off her hands, do her job, and stand up for Canadian businesses?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, throughout this pandemic, as hard as it has been for Canadians all across this country, on this side of the House, we have stood up for small businesses. We have provided unprecedented supports so that they can continue to operate, keep their people on payroll, pay for the bills, and we have an incredibly strong program to help Canadian businesses start up, scale up, and access new markets, including programs for women entrepreneurs, for black entrepreneurs. This is about helping the Canadian economy recover. We are doing it on this side of the House, and I challenge my colleagues to join us in supporting our small businesses.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Êtres-Humains, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, the U.S. imposition of countervailing duties on Canadian lumber is a slap in the face to our industry. They've doubled in size. As with inflation and the labour shortage, this government's not interested in this issue. They simply don't care. They're not interested in the economy. Will the Prime Minister make a commitment today to fix this problem before the holidays? The Honourable Minister.
Trade.
Mr. Speaker, we've been very clear. Canada's forestry sector and its workers are incredibly important to the Canadian economy. We have been very clear that the tariffs are unjustified, that the U.S. has levied against us. We have defended our interests. We have defended it in CUSMA, before the NAFTA panels, as well as before the WTO, and it's been ruled that Canada is a fair trading partner. We're going to continue to stand up for Canadian forestry workers and the industry, which employs so many incredible Canadians across the country.
The honourable member for Bellechasse-les-Etchemins-Lévis. Mr. Speaker, there's the Prime Minister's attitude towards the U.S. after the Foreign Trade Minister visited Washington and after the Finance Minister talked about retaliation. Nothing has changed with the American duties. It's one failure after another. For the Prime Minister should stand up and tell the House what the next steps are to resolve this issue.
Minister.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, I share my honourable colleagues' concerns. Forestry workers in your riding in all ridings are represented by all sides of this House. I wish to reassure my honourable colleague that we are concerned about a result. We want to find a result that's acceptable to the industry and to the workers. I would encourage the member opposite to work together with us as Team Canada. Thank you.
Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Mr. Speaker, it's been weeks since the U.S. jacked up softwood lumber tariffs on communities like those in my riding. Yet this government seems to just given up, thrown in the towel. Well, workers in my riding cannot afford to give up. Why does this government not seem to care at all about fighting for forestry jobs?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, Canada's forestry sector is incredibly important to the Canadian economy, and I understand the frustration from my colleague on the opposite side. While I was in the United States, I had an opportunity to meet with the American Home Builders Association, who agree with us that the high duties and the tariffs on softwood lumber hurts their plan for building more affordable homes for Americans. We're going to keep doing the work here to ensure that we defend Canada's softwood lumber workers and our industry. That work continues.
Member for Central Okanagan, Similkameen Nicola.
Workers in my riding can't take that minister's statement to the bank. Mr. Speaker, communities in my region have been beset by fires, floods, and now a government that's given up. They work hard, and they deserve a government that works hard for them. Sadly, this Liberal government doesn't consider these families and these communities as a priority. What do the forestry workers in my riding have to do to make this government care? Do they have to donate to the Liberal Party?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think the honourable member will agree that, as we all do, and he has said it, that the forestry sector and those workers are incredibly important. It has been a very, very difficult year for Canadians in that sector, and indeed all sectors, living through this pandemic. I'm very proud of the work that we have been doing to support our workers all across the country, forestry workers, and we will continue to stand up to the United States on this very important issue around softwood lumber.
The honourable member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, by renewing the lease on their temporary facility at Roxham Road, the government's saying they're going to let the problem worsen for 5 more years. Who benefits from federal inaction? The smugglers who sell the dream to refugees. Thanks to this good old Liberal government, they've just learned they can keep getting rich at their expense for the next 5 years. To the Liberal donor Pierre Gay, who leases the temporary facilities to the Liberal government, he just pocketed another 5 years of public money. But does the Liberal minister think that really benefits the families who will keep crossing the border in the woods in the middle of winter? The Honourable Minister. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question.
Are critically important to our government. The rental agreement that was negotiated was based on fair market value at a competitive price. Given the location of the hotel and its proximity to the border, this was an ideal location for CBSA for use for this purpose. Our government is delivering open, fair, and transparent procurement processes while obtaining the best value for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lac Saint Jean. Mr. Speaker, now that we've talked about who benefits from Roxham Road, let's talk about who doesn't. It doesn't benefit the families who pay smugglers a fortune to cross borders, putting their safety at risk. It doesn't benefit Quebec, which has to deal with 97% of Canada's irregular arrivals. It doesn't benefit Quebecers who pay for all the services provided to these 97% of applicants, far more than their share Canada-wide. Why is the Liberal government making Roxham Road permanent instead of suspending the Safe Third Country Agreement?
Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, as I'm sure the honourable member opposite will appreciate, Canada has both domestic and international legal obligations in terms of how we need to treat irregular asylum seekers who cross the border into Canada. I'm pleased to let the honourable member know I'm doing everything in collaboration with my counterparts in the province of Quebec, and I had the opportunity to have a productive conversation last week, and I had a conversation with the ambassador to the United States this week so we can continue the effort to modernize the Safe Third Country Agreement. Mr. Speaker, adult problems require adult conversations. I invite the honourable member to join one.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Mr. Speaker, the renewal of the federal lease on Roxham Road is yet another Liberal ethical failure. The mere fact that the renewal was done secretly, without a tender, and that it was awarded, probably by accident, to a Liberal donor, confirms this. This is an ethical failure because the government is facilitating what's illegal. It's not legal to offer smuggling services at the border. It's not legal or safe to cross the border other than at border crossings, but Ottawa is facilitating it. Why is this government facilitating the circumvention of laws instead of regulating border crossings? The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I have said, transparency and accountability are critically important to our government. The rental agreement that is in question was negotiated based on fair market value to arrive at a competitive price, and that's the price that we did arrive at. Given the location of the hotel, this was important to CBSA for this purpose, and so our government is going to continue to deliver to keep Canadians safe in a fair, open, and transparent way.
The Honourable Member for Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, last week the government sent a strongly worded letter to U.S. senators about the electric vehicle tax credit and its devastating impact on the Ontario auto industry. But the same government hasn't contacted Democratic Senator Joe Manchin, who 3 weeks ago called on President Biden to approve Keystone XL, even though the Canadian oil and gas industry contributes 6 times more to the economy than does the auto sector. Is that because this government values the auto sector over the oil and gas sector?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, this is a really important issue for our government. Of course, we're standing up for all sectors of the economy. The issue around the EV credits are before the Senate right now. It is why I was there last week. It is why we ensured that we communicated clearly to the American government that this issue is important to the many hundreds of thousands of workers that are in this sector of the economy.
Member for Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, this government says it stands up for all sectors. It says a Canadian is a Canadian is a Canadian, but it acts like a government of the Laurentians, not a government of Canada. When Ontario's auto industry is threatened, it stands to attention, but the softwood lumber and Keystone XL issues languish for years. When is this government going to stand up for all Canadians and all economic sectors, not just those in the backyards of Liberal cabinet ministers from Ontario and Quebec?
The Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me just be very clear. This government stands for all industries, all sectors, all across this country. We will do it every single day, and we will continue to do that. All sectors, all across the country.
The honourable member for Prince Albert.
Mr. Speaker, this government's relationship with the United States continues to deteriorate. The latest example is the American Beef Labeling Act in Congress. The act calls on U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai and U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack to make country of origin labeling WTO compliant. And if this does not happen, it automatically comes into force. This is devastating impact on the cattle industry in Canada as well as North America. Mr. Speaker, my question is to the Minister of International Trade. Will she act now or wait until it's a crisis?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada and the U.S. share one of the largest agricultural trading relationships. The WTO has ruled in 2015 that the mandatory country of origin labeling measures in the U.S. discriminated against Canadian exporters, and we expect the U.S. to continue to abide by this ruling and the WTO obligations. Our government will continue to stand up for Canada's beef industry and its workers, and we are firmly opposed to any new proposals from the U.S. to resurrect mandatory country of origin labeling for beef or pork.
Member for Prince Albert.
It sounds like they're just going to watch and listen and do nothing. Mr. Speaker, the government has a terrible record with the Biden administration responding to trade irritants with our most important trading partner, whether it be softwood lumber, electric vehicles, Keystone XL, aluminum, potatoes, Line 5, and now beef. This government's failures on trade relationships continue to cost Canadians their jobs. So again, I ask the minister, will she act now, or is she going to wait until it's a crisis before doing something?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, the United States is Canada's largest trading partner. It is a relationship that has benefited workers on both sides of the borders. Every day, we work very hard to stand up for our industries, for our workers, and to continue to develop the opportunities for businesses to grow and to export. I just had a wonderful meeting with the American ambassador yesterday. We agreed that we can absolutely work on helping our businesses start up, scale up, and access that very important market, which is the United States of America.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg Centre.
Mr. Speaker, in the last 2 months, food banks across Manitoba have seen a 70% increase in individuals accessing services compared to last year. And instead of the Liberal government choosing to help people, they continue to claw back GIS and CCB payments from individuals and families already living in precarious situations. We are in a food security crisis, Mr. Speaker. When will this government implement a national food strategy and immediately end clawbacks to GIS and CCB?
Hear, hear, hear. The Honourable Minister.
And I would like to thank my honourable colleague for her question and for her important advocacy on this issue. Let us recall that it was this government that brought in the Canada Child Benefit that saw close to 400,000 children lifted out of poverty. Let us recall that it is this government that is committed to bringing forward a national food strategy to ensure that children around this country have access to healthy meals, because we know that is one of the best ways to set our kids up for success and to make sure that they can learn everything that they need in school. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Canada's Chief Public Health Officer just issued a dire warning. She said, our public health system is stretched dangerously thin. Our public health workforce is understaffed and burnt out. We weren't prepared for COVID-19, and we're not prepared for the next emergency. Mr. Speaker, decades of underfunding under Liberal and Conservative governments are putting Canadians at risk. Dr. Tam is calling for transformational investment in Canada's public health system. Will this government finally listen and provide the resources needed to keep us all safe?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. We are currently living through a very serious challenge caused by Omicron. I would remind all Canadians listening and everyone in this House to be extremely careful. We must follow public health measures, get vaccinated, get boosters whenever they are available, and now is not the time to travel, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Armed Forces is one of Canada's most venerable institutions. But the reality is that it has not always lived up to the values that Canadians expect from the military. Many service members who have bravely come forward to serve their country have instead experienced sexual trauma at the hands of the very institution that is sworn to protect them. Can the minister update the House on the steps this government is taking to ensure that the Canadian Armed Forces finds restitution with survivors?
The Honourable Minister of Defence.
Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Armed Forces have always had our backs, but far too many of them have suffered because of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and discrimination. That is why yesterday General Eyre and Deputy Minister Thomas and I offered an apology to all victims and survivors. An apology cannot mend deep wounds, but it is the right thing to do, and we will now move to enact further reforms to address these behaviors.
Good job.
Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the last free trade agreement with the United States has been devastating to Canadian dairy producers. Now, our American neighbours have greater access to our dairy market as a result of the new agreement. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister for International Trade confirm that the Americans are respecting this agreement that both parties signed? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reassure my colleague that, in fact, we are working closely with the Americans. We are making sure that the agreement is respected. There are procedures in place. They will be followed if necessary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the minister remains evasive about dairy products crossing the border, and particularly with regard to the controls to ensure that our free trade agreement is respected. How can the minister reassure Canadian dairy producers about border controls to restrict the quantity of incoming dairy products as per our trade agreement? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I want to reassure my colleague that we are working as a team with Border Services, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and all the measures are taken to ensure that the free trade agreement with the United States and Mexico is respected. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are calling out for action on serious gun crimes. Yet, incredibly, this government just introduced a bill that for serious crimes like robbery with a firearm, extortion with a firearm, and weapons trafficking, it would eliminate mandatory jail time and further bring in house arrest for crimes like kidnapping and sexual assault. This is just the opposite of what Canadians are calling for. Won't the minister agree with most Canadians that if a person commits a drive-by shooting or weapons trafficking, that they deserve mandatory jail time?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Time of year, Mr. Speaker. If my honourable colleague had read the bill very carefully, he would have seen that in some instances we also propose to raise maximum sentences for serious firearms offences. What I find ironic is the party opposite, the Conservative Party, flip-flopped so many times on firearms, on protecting Canadians, that it just stretches credulity that they have any credibility whatsoever in this House. Mr. Speaker, I'm calling on Conservatives to join the Government of Canada, all members in this House, in ensuring that we stop gun violence and keep Canadians safe.
The member for Fundy Royal.
Mr. Speaker, this soft on crime government is completely out of touch with what Canadians are calling for. It is the job of this Parliament to pass legislation that ensures that mandatory jail time is there for an individual who commits a crime like a drive-by shooting and gets them off the streets and into jail. Can the minister declare what crimes he does support mandatory jail time for? We know he doesn't support it for robbery, for weapons trafficking, and for extortion with a firearm. So please tell us, where do you believe a mandatory minimum sentence is appropriate?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, I reject the premise of that question. I'd ask the honourable member to read the bill. Mr. Speaker, serious crimes will always be punished seriously. All that we are doing in this bill Mr. Speaker, is selecting a number of crimes that have a serious impact on the overrepresentation of Indigenous and Black peoples in the criminal justice system in order to give back the flexibility to judges by eliminating certain minimum mandatory penalties and by allowing for the possibility of conditional sentencing orders in order that we can attack systemic racism in our criminal justice system, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Bagot. Mr. Speaker, these days, trade with the U.S. isn't easy. The Deputy Prime Minister wrote to U.S. senators, as we know, to threaten them with retaliation if they hurt Canada's electric vehicle sector. We agree. However, we wonder, when it comes to softwood lumber, Ottawa does nothing. Since the Americans announced that they would double tariffs, there was no letter, no announcement, no retaliation. Good news for Ontario's auto sector, but why, when it comes to softwood lumber, Ottawa does absolutely nothing?
The Honourable Minister for International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for that very important question, and to the softwood lumber industry and the many workers that are in his riding and in fact in many, many ridings across the country. I want those workers and the industry to know that absolutely we are standing up for your interests. I raise this at every opportunity with the American administration. We have taken this issue to panels at CUSMA, at the WTO. We will continue to defend the interests of the Canadian softwood lumber industry strongly, and they can count on us to do that.
The Honourable Member for Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Mr. Speaker, I was a member of the delegation that went to Washington, and in the answer the minister gave, she didn't talk about it. I went there to defend the softwood lumber industry, and I reminded the minister of the importance of Quebec's distinct forestry sector. I didn't think she put all of her political weight into abolishing the softwood lumber tariffs. Why, Mr. Speaker? Because the government went to Washington with what it called Team Canada in order to defend the Ontario's auto industry. That's it. But what will it take for them to defend jobs in Quebec when it comes to the forestry sector? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's a good moment for the Bloc Québécois in any sense. When they talked about the Internet, we resolved that. They talked about social housing, and we had resolved that. When talk about childcare, we resolved that. And now the Bloc is continuing day after day to try to quarrel with us. Ottawa is working hard. They should respect people in Ottawa. The Liberal government is defending Quebec.
Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Contract to rent property as a welcoming centre and an illegal border crossing at Roxham Road was handed out to a Quebec businessman by the Liberals. The lucrative sole source deal comes after $23,000 in donations was given to the Liberal Party. Now, before the Liberals stand up and say, yeah, but he donated to the Conservative Party, Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party never greased this donor's palms with a lucrative sole source contract. Would someone from that side just stand up and admit that this was a kickback for donating to the Liberal Party?
The Honourable Minister for Public Services.
And accountability are critically important to this government. The rental agreement was negotiated based on fair market value. That was the agreement that we came to. And it is about the location of this particular hotel, its proximity to the border, and CBSA. It was perfect for their purpose, and that's why we secured this deal. Our government is delivering open, fair, and transparent procurement processes while obtaining the best value for Canadians. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
In Quebec, it's called dresser la patte. It's been an all-you-can-eat buffet for connected Liberal insiders and cronies during the pandemic, lining up to gorge on the $500 million in COVID spending, much of it untendered and sole source. We, Frank Baylis, SNC, the list is long, and here we have another example. The sponsorship scandal will look like a speck of sand in a desert compared to what's gone on. Yesterday, the Liberals rejected my motion at Ethics Committee to investigate COVID contracts, saying they didn't want to stir the pot. I wonder why. Why don't they just get it off their chest and admit that this was payback for a Liberal donation?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would simply state
that this House has a lot of extraordinarily important matters that are in front of it, that the question that has been posed by the member opposite, in my opinion, doesn't really have to do with the business either of this nation or this Parliament. If he wants to play politics and games, the space is right over there, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Barrie-Innisfil.
I wouldn't expect anything less from these Liberals. Last week, I asked the CRA to investigate a claim that the Liberal member from Calgary Skyview was directing people on how to fraudulently claim the CERB in his riding before he was elected as an MP. According to Canadian press, 7 in 10 people over 15 in the riding received the CERB, one of the highest percentages in the country. When I asked the minister about this, she said she takes all claims of CERB fraud seriously, even if it's against a member of the Liberal caucus, and will launch an investigation. Can the minister inform the House whether she has in fact started an investigation against the member from Calgary Skyview?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there are various places that you can spread allegations and see whether or not there's any truth to them. I would suggest that instead of using the privilege in this place to explore conspiracy theories, the member go and actually use the processes that are available to verify whether or not there's anything that...
Are we ready? The Honourable Government House Leader, if you can continue. We were cut off.
Mr. Speaker, I'm ready to continue. Hopefully we'll get a question about the business of this nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, our government announced the first women entrepreneurship strategy with $6 billion investment for the economic empowerment of women. These investments are important social and economic measures essential to build back better and promote an inclusive economic recovery. Can the Minister of International Trade, Export Promotion, Small Business tell us more about the strategy and how this program will contribute to the success of female entrepreneurs? The Honourable Minister of International Trade. Mr. Speaker, by focusing on the potential of female entrepreneurs, we have added $150 billion to the Canadian economy. With the WES Economic Ecosystem Fund, our government is supporting sizable projects across the country. In Budget 2021, we have invested $147 million in an additional funding in order to provide women entrepreneurs with better access to funding, mentorship, and training. And I am eager to be able to announce more good news soon.
The Honourable Member for Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, as housing affordability spirals out of reach for young working Canadians, the Prime Minister continues to cite the first-time homebuyer incentive as its signature policy for homebuyers. This program was ridiculed by industry, ignored by consumers, and has utterly failed to have any effect on access to homeownership. Will the Prime Minister admit that the first-time homebuyer incentive was nothing more than a cheap pre-election gimmick that does nothing to increase housing supply?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the problem that the Conservatives face is that before the election they had done nothing on affordable housing. They proposed no clear policy ideas. For 9 years in government, they invested $0 in affordable housing. They, in fact, downloaded affordable housing onto provinces and municipalities. Now, when they have a chance to actually support policies that work, they don't propose anything. In fact, in their housing...
Going to stop the Minister. I believe we have a technical problem. Order. Order. Order.
The Honourable Member, is there a problem with the sound? Perhaps the comments are interesting, but we can't hear. I heard nothing.
To start over, I think we had a bit of a technical problem. Hopefully this time it'll be quieter in the chamber and we'll be able to hear the whole answer. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The problem the Conservatives face is that for 9 years in power, they didn't really invest in affordable housing. They did not have a program like the first-time homebuyer incentive. In fact, they downloaded housing responsibility and investments in housing to provinces and municipalities. They did nothing to invest in the capacity of more Canadians to become homeowners. And in their election platform, they didn't have the word affordable housing in their platform. In fact, their recent housing motion didn't have the word affordable housing in it. Now that they have a chance to support the throne speech commitments with respect to housing, they refuse to do so. They have no credibility on this issue, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Flamborough-Glanbrook.
Mr. Speaker, seniors living on a fixed income are among the hardest hit by the inflation crisis. In fact, there are quite a few seniors living in villages in my riding, often retired steel workers from Hamilton who have retired there. These are the seniors who built this country and made it strong. Recently, I heard from Heinz in Flamborough, who has already been struggling with high heating costs and high grocery costs before this crisis, and he's now been pushed to the brink. When will this government get serious about the inflation crisis so that seniors like Heinz will not go cold and hungry this winter?
The Honourable Minister for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we've always supported seniors, especially those most vulnerable seniors, Mr. Speaker. One of the first things, Mr. Speaker, we did as a government is to restore the age of OAS and GIS back from 67 to 65. We have enhanced the CPP, Mr. Speaker. We have raised the GIS for single seniors. We have invested $6 billion on home care, Mr. Speaker. We have an ambitious agenda for seniors, Mr. Speaker. We've always had their back, and we're going to continue to make sure we do just that to support them.
The Honourable Member for Moose Jaw Lake Centre, Lanigan.
Mr. Speaker, inflation is the highest it's been in 20 years. It is making everything more expensive, the essentials, groceries, gas, and heat. This is especially hard on people living on a fixed income like veterans. Our nation's heroes are watching their pensions lose buying power by the day. They are being asked to get by with less and less. Why is this minister forcing our heroes to use food banks during this inflationary crisis?
The Honourable Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a bit rich from a party that did nothing but slice veterans funds, Mr. Speaker. My honourable colleague.
I'm gonna have to stop the minister. I mean, he's standing right next to me, and I can barely hear him.
You should tell the truth.
The Honourable Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate my honourable colleague to give me a chance to indicate what had happened and what has happened since we formed the government. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, we have invested billions of dollars in veterans to make sure that they receive the appropriate funding that they deserve. When the previous CPC government was in place, they slashed funding, fired Veterans Affairs employees, and cut funding to veterans. We as a government supplied more funding for veterans to make sure they have the appropriate funds they need. But there is more to do, Mr. Speaker, and we will do more.
The Honourable Member for Whitby.
Mr. Speaker, over the past 18 months, our government has made historic investments in Canada's biomanufacturing sector to quickly reverse years of neglect under Conservative governments. Earlier this month, the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry announced an exciting new agreement with Merck to manufacture life-saving COVID-19 therapies right here in Canada, in fact, in my riding of Whitby. Could the Minister please elaborate on how this agreement will help further to ensure the health and safety of Canadians as we move forward?
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for a great question and for his leadership, Mr. Speaker. As the member knows in this House, it has been my absolute priority, Mr. Speaker, to grow our biomanufacturing sector in this country to ensure the health and safety of Canadians for generations to come. Mr. Speaker, our agreement with Merck means that we will be manufacturing their therapy against COVID-19 right here in Canada, Mr. Speaker, in Whitby in Ontario. This project, Mr. Speaker, will help grow our biomanufacturing sector, and it helps in bringing Canada's expertise recognized around the world. Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to invest in biomanufacturing. We'll continue to attract investment in this country for our workers and our health and safety.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, within the most recent supplementary estimates, the Liberal government has allocated no money to the Regional Economic Development Agency, which supports small businesses, arts, tourism, and community organizations in Alberta and the prairies. This is outrageous at a time when the Omicron variant is surging and Alberta's economy is suffering. The Prime Minister said he'd have Canadians' backs, but clearly that's not the case. Will the Liberals immediately reverse this unfair decision and make sure all Canadians are supported through another long winter of COVID?
Yes. The Honourable Minister for Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, the regional development agencies have supported Canadians from coast to coast to coast from the beginning of the pandemic through the regional relief funds, now through the Tourism Relief Fund. $15 billion to the tourism sector alone, Mr. Speaker. The funding will continue. The supports will continue. We have had Canadians' backs, and we will continue to do so, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
So a new report from Canada's energy regulator says that oil production in 2050 will be, well, pretty much what it is today. No wonder Canada's at the bottom of the G7 when it comes to climate action. Then we learned that the Prime Minister's promise to plant 2 billion trees, well, that was a failure because what's he planted? Actually 0.5%. So the only net zero that this government has actually delivered on is the Prime Minister's environment credibility. So, Earth to the Environment Minister, the planet is on fire. When is he going to start showing up for some Canadians to help?
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If my honourable colleague knew anything about tree planting, he would know that we need to grow the seedlings for between 2 and 3 years. I have planted trees.
The Honourable Minister for the Environment, from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, anyone who's planted trees would know that it takes between 2 to 3 years to grow them so that they can be safely planted. I have planted trees, Mr. Speaker. I've been known to hug trees from time to time, and our government is engaged in fighting climate change. We've invested $100 billion in the last 6 years, more than 100 measures, and we will keep going at it, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
That's all the time we have for today. What is the debate? We don't have any points of order?
I
don't see anything. Okay. Oh, we have a point of order. The Honourable Member for Timmins, James Bay.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you, but I was very concerned with the comments that were being made under extreme heckling from my Conservatives. But could the Environment Minister tell us how long it does take to actually make a tree?
I believe the Honourable Member, that's not a point of order, but he'll have to ask that question next question period. Orders of the day!
Government orders, government bills, comments.
Second reading of Bill C-5, an act to amend the Criminal Code and the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Brantford Brant has 5 minutes of questions and comments remaining. The honourable member for Winnipeg North is rising on a question for the honourable member for Brantford-Brant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I guess my question is, recognizing the great divide where here in the Liberal government, we understand that judges play a very important role in providing them that additional discretion to look at the circumstances around giving dispositions on sentencing. My question to my colleague across the way, why does the Conservative Party not have faith in our judges in Canada?
Exactly.
I'm serious. The honourable member for Brantford-Brant.
If the honourable member actually listened to my